Welcome to the Secrets Women Keep podcast. I am your secret keeper and confidant, Lauren White. I'm a qualified counsellor and sexologist, facilitator of all things turn on, author of Permission, and a witty, highly intuitive lounge room dancing introvert. I help you as an exceptional woman in entrepreneurship to see, love, and trust all the parts of yourself, especially the unseen. Let's pull back the curtain, light the candelabra, and lift the veil. These are the secrets women keep. Hello, and welcome to the Secrets Women Keep. I am your host and confidant, Lauren White, and today we have a very alluring guest. Her name is Nina Powell. Purposed with infectious liberation, Nina is the founder of the Wild, Divine, Orgasmic Leadership Movement. Oof, she's speaking my language already. After years of following the formula for success as a good student with a ton of degrees, the good corporate businesswoman, the good wife, the good homekeeper, etc., 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 Nina realized she'd been living in her head for many, many years and doing. I think that's something that so many of us can already relate to. She'd noticed she'd lost connection with her body, her soul, and her feminine essence. Once she turned that all around, she couldn't help herself. She just had to share that liberation, as you do. She guides the world's most impeccable women through individual and group experiences and retreats. Her clients and students, the bravest of women, enjoy amazing connections to their body and their erotic nature. They feel exquisite levels of self-confidence and step into their power like nobody's business. These women access their true inner goddess, magnetize their desires, and hold a divine magnetism that brings them an impenetrable inner joy and peace. Oh my God, we are in for a ride today, Nina, based on that bio. Welcome.
I like it. I'm getting turned on listening to my own bio now. I'm like, oh,
yeah. I believe that we should get turned on listening to our own bios, our own offers, our about page. It should turn us on first and foremost so that it turns on everyone else. What's your take on that?
Oh yeah, totally. I have the most fun when I'm writing, when I'm like feeling this energy sort of move and my body's getting all juicy, activated. And so, yeah, I can't imagine it wouldn't be enjoyable for somebody else to read that if I'm feeling all that. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. We got to bring our turn on out more, right? I don't know about living you're in Australia and I'm in New Zealand, right? And I've lived overseas and I've traveled a lot, and I just can't believe how kind of devoid of sensuality and that Eros life force New Zealand is in general. Like it's like some kind of dry desert. There's such a like solid wall between feeling and that kind of being state. Yeah. We need the turn on back.
We do. We need it bad. And I feel like this is what I took from reading more about your work in preparation for today's conversation. Yeah. But my take on it is that turn on is it's a readily available resource, but also it's not one of those things where it's only suitable for certain contexts. You can bring turn on into the hard times. You can bring it into all sorts of situations, like scenarios. It's not you only reserve this for when you're ovulating. You only reserve this for when you're in your best dress. You only reserve, not at all. You can always come back to turn on, to being in your body, to accessing your pleasure in some way, shape, or form, even in the challenging times. And I actually think that they're the times where we really get to see and feel what turn on is made of and the gumption that it has.
Yeah, I was watching that this pole dance show on Netflix. I don't know if you've seen it, but I was watching some of that yesterday, and some of it's really emotional for the woman. And when they are in their emotion and they're moving, oh my God, this like raw, powerful turn on that is there, that is just so incredible. And I do a lot of practice like that too. I have this meditative movement breath practice that is about leaning into your emotions. And I feel like they're the gateway, actually, because we have this sort of reclamation of erotic happening in our society, and some of it is like totally in the shadow. Like there's young women that are like, yeah, I can have whatever sex I want, you can't slut shame me, you can't, like all this stuff, and then just having sex, having loads of one night stands, doing all this like outward doing, but it's really shallow. And what was I just going to say about that? Just that this noticing of this sort of reclamation that is happening, but really the deeper reclamation that we're calling for is actually through our feeling body. Like it's not something you do, that you sort of put on your horny self and you go out. It's like it's something that you unlock when you lean into who you are and you actually allow yourself to be all of who you are and feel everything that you're feeling and not stop trying. And
you made a really beautiful, astute point around it's not something that you try on. It feels like you're delineating between it being something where you get the external validation and you do it for the benefit of others. You said it's something that you unlock within you. And I couldn't agree more. It's not something that you go out and absorb from other people, although you will learn and other people will be influential, but it is something that is already inside of you, already accessible. You need to have the desire to want to unlock it and to go inward and find it. And that is a way more empowering approach than trying to get it from the outside in.
Yeah, or trying to kind of take your power back in that way. There's that, which, in some ways I'm celebrating these young women. I'm like, that's so amazing that they could just be like, here I am, I'm going to have what I want. And I think that might be part of the journey back home sometimes, is just to go and be the huntress and just take what you want and have what you want and just like no shame and just like enjoy it and have it. But there will be a point where you'll be like, oh, this is actually not fulfilling me in all the ways that I want.
Yes. On the note of the huntress, oh my God, the words on your website, it's like it's like we speak a very similar language in so many ways. And then you've brought these like new terms in around, I think it was something along the lines of like undomesticating or something like that. And I was like, oof, that is so sexy. Like what? You are all about women having a wild, divine, orgasmic existence. I love this. Can you tell us what it is to undomesticate ourselves? Like when you work with your clients, what does that look and feel like so that they can get to all the juice and all the wet emoji, wet emoji, wet emoji?
It's funny, as you're talking I can feel my body starts to sort of like come into my body more, because I want to find the words to share with you what this undomesticated woman feels like. And a huge part of that is that she finally has this turn on running in her veins. She's like fully embracing the sense of raw aliveness, and she's not ashamed of it. She loves it. She knows how to enjoy it, and she can rest easy in her body. She knows it's her superpower. It's like going to a business meeting, sitting down, breathing into pussy and going, I got this. Like, I've got this. She doesn't have to push. There's not this sort of sort of leaning forward, pushing that has to happen in her life. There's this resting back and embodying.
Yum.
Yeah. And then it's like, in terms of the life, it's this undomesticated. It's like all the things, like all the shoulds, all these parts of your life where I love diving into this like maybe space with people and getting really clear on all the fucking maybes that are in their life. Like all the fucking maybes, what you're like, where you're doing life, where you're like, yeah, I could do that.
So tepid. So tepid.
Yeah. And life gets completely full of fucking maybes where you're like, someone touches you and you're sort of like, oh, I can kind of tolerate that. It's all right. And or you go out for a walk and you're like, yeah, I could just go there, or yeah, I could eat this for dinner, or and then we start to fill their life with all these hell yeses where it's just like creates all this space for things to feel really good and trusting that you can have what feels really good and you don't have to tolerate and override your body. And I spoke in that bio I put about the feminine essence, and I sort of like love and hate that language because it's just completely, I think it's so overcomplicated and full of concepts and rules and all the stuff about being feminine. But the way I see it is that we live our life completely overriding our body, like locking down our emotions, saying yes when we want to say no, or like saying maybe when we want to say no. And we get kind of frozen and hardened. So there's all these places of tension in the body, and there's this sort of hardness that a lot of women might think, oh, I'm just like, I live so masculine. They might start to read some literature and think, oh, I'm so masculine or something, and get all like into these concepts and all this kind of junk. And really this undomesticated self has it's a softness that naturally comes through you allowing yourself to be who you are, feeling all your emotions and removing all that history and conditioning from your system, so that there's this natural femininity that arises without doing anything or without having to apply some kind of concept or rule to how to access it. It's a natural unfolding of your system. Yeah.
And on that note of the natural unfolding and being in your body, what is like, can you share with us what's one of the ways that listeners can maybe position their body to start to tap into what you're speaking into?
Oh, like how you can start to tap into this kind of presence and sensuality and embodiment in your body.
just something really simple, just how we sit in the chair or walk through the street, or just.
I think a lot of it is about where your awareness is. If we're like up in your head, you're like all up there. If you can start to bring your awareness, like in such a simple way, if you can just start to bring your awareness down into your pelvis area, so noticing your hips as they move. As I'm sitting here talking with you, I'm constantly like bringing myself back down and in. Like
me too.
I just keep,
I'm going to join you.
Yeah, I do it through. Sometimes I'm moving my body a little bit side to side. I feel the weight of my sit bones pushing into the chair, and I feel the muscles moving inside my pelvic bowl, and I'm I just bring my awareness back down. And naturally when we do that, actually the whole body can start to soften, because the natural state of the body is total and utter relaxation. So it kind of blew my mind when someone said that to me. A teacher said that to me, a rolfer actually, so a body worker. Really intense body work. I don't know if I'd recommend it or not. It's like a love-hate thing, rolfing. It's very, very deep. But yeah, he said the natural state is total and utter relaxation. And so anywhere where we're like holding, creates a tensioning into our whole being. So in a place that we hold most, like so much tension, is around the genitals, the anus, the pelvic bowl, the pelvic muscles. So yeah, as you bring your awareness down, you might even notice a little breath come in, just a natural, like, relaxing breath that happens. That's the sign that the nervous system has just come down a notch. And then other bits of your body might relax, and all of a sudden you feel that your perception widens, you feel capable and creative, and some eros might start to wake up.
Eros is one of my favorite words. Thank you for that. I feel oh gosh, just sitting here and doing that with you, I feel like, another layer has been shed. That was, being in the doing mode up until this moment of recording. So,
yeah.
We need to incorporate more of our pelvis into everything that we do. And something that you said before, I'm kind of putting, this is my Willy Wonka brain at play, by the way, but something that you said before about leaning back. I feel like all that messaging over the last 10 years from the inaugural Lean In book is like, well, leaning in, what does that do for our pelvis? Is our pelvis even present in that? Is it all, it's all just that forward facing? And it's like, well, wait a minute. Like what you just said and what you said before about leaning back, I feel like this is the new wave. Like Lean In did some great, like created some great awareness and stirred some things up, but also this new wave is more about that magnetism that leans back. Doesn't mean that you're passive, doesn't mean that you're not taking the action required to align yourself to your desires. But I feel like there's something in that and in that pelvic awareness and movement that gets missed in that lean in kind of approach. I'm not sure if you have anything to add to that.
Well, it's interesting watching you play as in your body as you're saying that, and I'm playing a little bit too, and I think you can feel the difference so much. There's like a leaning forward. Oh God, I can already feel like a tightening in my chest. I'm like, and leaning back or like sitting back is not like, it's not about like leaning back and out, sort of escaping. It's just about is a resting into your body and into your power center, where your spine, the central channel through your, the energy channel in front of your spine is like clear and free, and your system is going into a state of trust and knowing, instead of survival brain pushing and grasping, which is leaning forward. It's like, I gotta get versus powerful, really powerful. What other ways do you feel might be preventative to women living a wild, divine, orgasmic existence? I'd say it's one of the hardest things for women to claim, because it feels selfish, self-centered. Like we've got stories that in our society that, what does it, it's just pleasure seeking, or, it's like hedonism, pleasure seeking. So the barriers to claiming your erotic nature are huge. There's just so much conditioning. And then you just, societal conditioning, right, around being, God, I mean, there's just so many things. My brain is popping up now with, the safety aspect too. If you're a woman, you have probably learned from when you're a teenager that it's not safe to be sexy or to be attractive based on, cat calls out of windows or, right from early on. And then you get told when you're in business that you're supposed to be professional, and there's a certain view of what professional means. There's it's quite a hard lean forward approach. So we have so much condition, and then we have all of our personal experiences that take us away from being able to just rest into our body and access that part of us without having our minds just be crazy busy. So it could be trauma experiences, it could be just so many times where you've kind of carried on having sex when you didn't really want to, you're overriding your body, and you get this protective mechanisms that start to happen around your sexual center. Is this kind of what you meant? The kind of blocks? Yeah. So, I mean, there's just so many reasons why a woman would not make it a priority.
Yeah. And I'm hearing contextual factors, I'm hearing sexual factors, relationship dynamic factors, what belief system she grew up within. So many things are competing with women's pleasure. And I feel like I don't ask questions like that to be negative, but I do ask them so that we can talk about the real things. And then I think once we know what the things are, we can address them and do a subtraction process so that we can start the addition process with pleasure. I feel like it's just too hard, or it doesn't work. And I'm pretty certain you're going to agree with me, but just to ingest pleasure and try and put it on top of what is domesticated, what is conditioned, what is inhibitory is just very
there's
challenging.
So many challenges. And even when women think they have empowered themselves in this area, it's amazing when you begin the process of going deeper how much there is always to unravel. I mean, I'm constantly unraveling new layers. It is my way that I unravel the new layers because I come up against them in my pleasure practices and in sex with my partner. It's like you peel off something, right? And then you get down and deep and really into something even more. And I mean, there's so much shame. Yeah. There's so much shame. There's so much numbing that happens in the body. I mean, that's something that I have really come up against a lot, is to have a sensation and things to feel good, and then for everything to suddenly feel completely numb. And I used to just use a lot more friction. I'd be like, all right, I'm not going to bloody get there. Come on, body. Just push this out.
Come on. Up the sensation, up the friction. Come on. And I'll never forget.
Force it.
When I was a year into studying sexology, so it was the very beginning of 2012. And I decided 2012 was going to be my year of complete sexual exploration, and I did sexological body work, and I did all these things. I did this 6-day female sexuality retreat. It was wonderful. And I remember the first lesson I took from 2012 was when Nicole Dodone wrote in Slow Sex, "Numbness is a sensation." And I never forget, as someone who was, I would say, quite inhibitory around my sexuality before I started studying sexology, and that was probably part of the allure, was that sense of unlocking. Reading that line was so permission granting, because it was like, oh, there's something in numbness. Numbness isn't a nothingness, hopefully that makes sense to the audience. Numbness in itself has data for you. It has information for you. And I feel like, if there's anything that you could extend on with that, numbness is a sensation, then I feel like listeners might really take something from that, because numbness is it's a pervasive.
Big sensation. Yeah, it's a really big sensation. Yeah, now that I've we actually started our sexual exploration spiritual journey around about the same time, I think. I'm trying to remember now whether I'm terrible with dates. I just sort of like know when things kind of happen. I try to remember the timelines, but I'm pretty sure it was about 2011, and started to, get more. And I did my sexological bodywork training in 2013.
Oh, fabulous. I was 2014. I was pregnant and I did it all through my pregnancy. It was wild. My baby's going to be, my now 7-year-old's going to be very interesting with what she absorbed in me.
Well, hopefully a lot of juicy chemicals, right? So we had to do a lot of, for all the listeners here, you have to do a lot of self-pleasure practice and sexological bodywork training. Yeah, and numbness as a sensation is actually really, really huge, because I've done a somatic experiencing now too, which is a trauma resolution therapy for people that aren't familiar. So that's all about the nervous system and really exploring the body's story. And so when you come across numbness, the way that I would approach it is to actually start to inquire more. This is for those people that want to, completely transform and do healing work on themselves through their pleasure practice, right? Some people are like, no, I just want to have an orgasm, and that's totally fine if that's what your intention is. We've
always got space for that.
But if you are really interested in changing the patterns in your body and completely wiring new pleasure highways, then what to do is to start to look at the sensation with like using the body language to try and get a sense of it. So if you think, oh, it's numbness, then I would be like, well, does it have a shape to it, this numbness? Or does it have a density? Is it dense? And then you think, is it dense like wood, or is it like concrete, or is it like light, or what is it? So you're trying to sort of feel into the sensation, and sometimes using a metaphor to describe it is really good. Like it's like a piece of concrete in my belly or something, or just noticing how you feel. So you're really trying to use the body's language to liberate this numbness, because underneath numbness there'll be a lot of charge, because numbness is basically freeze in the body. It's the state of shutdown in the body. It's where things have got too much. So the body is so clever. It's like amazingly designed to reduce the intensity of your experience, and it creates numbness. It's like, wow, how clever is that, right? So it has its own personal shutdown when it thinks it's got too much. So something is happening that is making you feel like it's too much, even if it's at the layer of your subconscious. So your ego is like, bring me the pleasure, bring me the orgasm, I want it good. And then the subconscious is like is somehow getting overwhelmed. There's something happening that is overwhelming. So we want to just sort of like touch in on it and start to explore what is there, being really, really gentle, because it's something you could totally do in a therapy session as opposed to on your own as well. But even on your own, starting to, see what image, what sense, what shape it is, what color it is, and then you might start to notice some charge coming out. So you might get some jolts through your body, some like electrical jolts. It's like some of the energy is starting to discharge, or you might feel an emotion coming. You might feel teary. You could get a desire to curl up into a ball. You might have some kind of impulse that comes through. Yeah, and you want to let these things unfold. And then what happens is the numbness will go on, when it's ready, it will go on its own, and you'll get flooded back with delicious sensation. And you would have just like completely transformed something from your past. And you don't even have to know the story. It's actually even easier if you don't go into story and just let the body tell its story. Yeah.
Oh, that is so beautiful what you just shared. That is so beautiful and so Like you really, what I'm hearing from your approaches are you really take the very humanistic approach and very natural and very feminine in like being with it, but also letting it unfold in its own way. And I feel like that is so the opposite. Like there is so much, and not to bring too much negativity to this podcast, but I wish that people knew about some of the people working in sexuality and the amount of shaming that can happen within the sexuality professions when training isn't appropriate and it's not adequately trauma informed, and just what some other people's advice would be about pushing through that and how to approach it differently. And I just feel like what you shared is such beautiful medicine that someone could do on their own. And I agree with Nina. I really feel like if you have the desire to explore this with a practitioner or a therapist, please do. You will make strides, like beautiful strides, beyond what you can do on your own, because the feedback that they give you and the approaches will be different from what you just know on your own.
Yeah, I mean, everything in our history that we have, these traumas or these blocks or shutdown points happen relationally. So when you do the work with a therapist, and I would say body-based therapy that uses sensation and
a body-based embodied therapist. Everyone, please listen to me.
Yeah.
Someone who has done training with the body. Do not go see someone who has only done the cerebral psychological approaches. Your growth will be stunted. Like you will not get the same richness. Ed and I see an embodied therapist, and I would not have it any other way. I'm very lucky. Not lucky. I've put so many years into all this. It just so happens to be someone that I know that I've done training with. And I would not recommend seeing someone who's cerebral based for any relating concerns or sexual concerns. They have to have done somatic. They have to have learnt somatic approaches if you actually really want to shift these patterns in your body.
Yeah, exactly. Because you have to shift a pattern in the body, you have to work with the body. If you just talk about it, people are addicted to processing and talking.
Addicted, but let me think about it. Let me sit with it. Let me talk about it some more. It's like I am all for talk. I'm in the end both more universe, and I feel like we can talk. Of course. Like it's a wonderful. Your voice is a wonderful loudspeaker for accountability and for shifting, and you need to come into your body. And that's why I've started every session for the last however many years I've been doing this, even though I'm always a qualified sexologist, but even though I'm not strictly doing sexology sessions anymore, coming into the body is always the first thing that we do. I don't want to hear stories from your head. I want to know what your heart, what your pussy wants from being here.
Yeah, absolutely.
Every session.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. And the body, it's so rich. It's like once you start doing those sorts of sessions, I mean, I just love it because I love to go deep.
Yes.
I love the sort of altered state kind of nature shamanic, deep, like turning into an animal, or I don't know, as your body expresses itself, all these things that unfold as your body shows you what it is and how it feels. It's just like, and then you get all this energy moving in your body, and you feel yourself, you feel your power. It's not this idea of power, this thing that you imagine. It's like you feel your capacity, your life force, like and then when you go to make love or self-pleasure or whatever it is, the sexual piece that you wanted to unravel, it's like this level of freedom that you suddenly can have, and more pleasure, and and instead of working for it, it can it can, like, your body opens to it. It's like, yeah.
Lush, so lush. I have a question for you.
Yeah.
Okay, first question is, a lot of my work revolves around women removing the metaphorical masks that hold them back from their sovereignty, their magnetism, and their eros. So a lot of the masks that I work with is the mask of perfection, the mask of palatability, the mask of self-sufficiency that says only I can do this, the mask of fine, the mask of being the helper and the server, all these kind of shadows that can come through, and in some ways women can get off on, like can like really be benefited, feel like they benefit from, but also feel the struggle of, but wait, this isn't serving me and it's costing me. Yeah. I'm really curious about you. What metaphorical masks have you really worked on removing over the years of self-exploration and introspection?
I haven't looked at it from that framework, but I like it. What would be my masks? Definitely the good girl mask.
Yes.
I speak a lot about that. The good girl, the one who strives to please or strives to behave. What other masks did you say? What's your framework? What are the other masks that you speak about? You went too fast. There was too many different masks.
Yeah, it's mostly those three. I feel like it's the way that it came through in 2021 was, okay, the mask of self-sufficiency holds you back from being in your sovereign. It's like, I've got to do everything on my own, but the sovereign in her power is very adept to not only appropriately holding, but being held, knowing when to hold and when to be held. The mask of palatability is, from my perspective, is the mask that holds women back from being magnetic. It's that I'll people please, I'll be a cardboard cutout, I'll be whatever you want me to be, I'll be a chameleon, I'll make sure I'm liked. It's like there is a lot of good girl in that holds us back from being magnetic, because there's an absence of trust. There's like, it's that I've got to, it's that proving energy, and that being hyper flexible and adaptable kind of energy to make sure other people are placated. And then the last mask that I do a lot of work with is the mask of perfection, which I feel is the main barrier to women being in their eros. What you said about being the good girl, the good daughter, the good employee, the good sister, the good, insert every single role, neighbor, helper, nurse, teacher, whatever, like just insert all of them there. I feel like that perfection really holds people back from being in their wild, divine, orgasmic existence, because it's so constrained. And the narrative is that you have to be in control, and that control says that you have to know each and every step that's coming next. And to live a wild, divine, orgasmic existence, to use your framework is, well, that can't be reconciled. You can't be perfect and have a wild, divine, orgasmic existence. It's just, you have to shed that mask of perfection, of, not taking risks and staying in that contraction that perfection feeds into so voraciously.
Well, I love it, because when you say that, I can hear me in all of those, and the different stages of, I guess, unraveling of those. I kind of think it's probably ongoing, because at the moment I'm definitely unraveling a new layer. I really feel like I am another layer of caring about what other people, like just saying what I want, like really not caring. And it's been quite fun. It's been quite fun and weirdly relaxed about it. It's been quite interesting. It's like, I just don't actually really care. I'm not going to follow anyone else's rule. No business coach's rule anymore. No, I'm just going to say what I want.
Yes.
So that's fun. And I probably thought I'd already done that, but now now there's a new sense of it.
Oh my
Yeah.
God, I love this. And I'm doing my butt shuffle in my chair because
You're just like,
yeah,
oh, the
I was
excitement
a
comes
bum
in, like,
shuffler as a baby. I was like the one that went on the floor like wearing down all my pants.
yeah.
Um I love this because I feel like whatever you do, and this isn't about pushing or like just jump and leap over the edge, but it's like every edge you meet, it's like, oh, can I just like, when it feels juicy and saucy, can I just like turn up the volume by like one little notch? Like I thought I was doing it. I was doing it. It wasn't that you weren't, but just, is there another?
And now.
Yes.
Yeah. And now if I just say what I want, how is that? Oh, it's just so relaxing as well. It feels like a whole new level of relax.
Yes.
Because I'm not trying so hard to get it right. And, and then the perfectionism, that's a good one too, in different ways. For me, a lot, like for me and with my clients, a lot of that is around, what you wear and what you look like, and that the idea of what you might do. You're trying to make yourself perfect so that you'll please others or something. You'll go somewhere and you'll fit in with the crowd, or you'll everyone will be good with you because you got it the right, rather than just wearing what the hell that you want for yourself and making that the locus of your world, your choice. Like, what do you feel good in? How will you feel good? Yeah, so that's definitely a big one. But that perfectionism thing, oh my God, I can relate to that in so many
layers and layers and layers and layers.
Yeah.
And what I love about the example that you just gave, Nina, is I have a recent experience of that, which is quite funny. I was down staying with my dad and stepmom for a couple of nights, and he knew the venue that I was going to, and my memory of it is like from years ago, from when I was growing up. And he saw me come out and he goes, mate, should be wearing a t-shirt and shorts, like not wearing that, like it's like a sage green, like rube dress and stuff. And I go, Dad, do I want to go there to fit in, or do I want to go there and belong to myself?
I love it. Yeah.
And that is really sovereign. I mean, it's all those energies of sovereignty, magnetism, eros, but like I really believe that sense of, I love what you said. I really believe the sovereign says, I belong to myself, I belong to me. And she has discarded that notion of trying to fit in, because it is it is like the tight jaw, the gritted teeth, the like the leaning in that we were speaking into before, with the stiff pelvis, like the
how will I be accepted? How will I be, what's the right thing to wear? I mean, oh my God, years of being in corporate and trying so hard in that way as well, just completely, I had a lot of conditioning around that. A lot of conditioning. And also about, for me, one of the big things of finally coming into my own belonging, which was this huge revelation for me. I couldn't believe it. It was like, what? When I started teaching these erotic and sensuality and female orgasm classes, when I started to teach that, I was still working in my corporate job. I was like pretending I had I wanted an extra day off. And I was like, I only want to work 4 days a week now. And I was doing this other thing on the side. And it was so interesting. I came out of one of those classes, it was maybe a couple of days later, and I was at this live music event with my big group of friends, and a lady came up to me and said, I was at your class, it was so amazing, thank you. And it just sort of snapped me into this realization of what my life was now and where it was going. And I suddenly realized how I finally felt like I belonged. And I had this big group of amazing friends, but there was always this sense with the larger sort of group of us that I was kind of like 80% belonged and everybody else 100% belonged. And because I only 80% belonged, I only made like 80% or less effort to really like go there with people, because I didn't really feel like I was fully part of the pack.
Yes.
and then just this whole sense of, yeah, it was so wild. So when you are on purpose with what you're supposed to be doing in life, you suddenly stop giving a shit so much about everything anymore because you suddenly belong.
Yes. And then you can do the things that you were speaking into before, which is, what you were saying about like asking for what you want on a whole. When you belong to yourself, you can ask for what you want because you're not, you're not so preoccupied and in your head about what everyone else would think or how they would interpret that. And I love what you said about the 80%, 80%. It's like if you belong to something 80%, your energy, your efforts going to operate at 80%. It's not, you're not going to be at 100%.
No, because there's this like bit of not trusting or something, not fully
trusting,
like being there. Yeah. So if you don't feel like you belong, there's something out of alignment in your life. That's the truth of it, isn't it? If you don't feel that sense of like you're with the sovereignty of like, here I am, I know I belong. Belong is quite a strange word when you say it a few times, isn't it? You start to think, what's it even mean? But there's some sort of inner feeling with it, that sense of just kind of, for me, it's like, here I am. Here I am. It's just like here I am.
I am. That's it. Three letters. I am. I am. It is. And it starts with us. It starts with us before we seek out this sense of belonging with others. It starts with us. We're always going to be looking in the wrong places and with like the least magnetic of intentions if we're just trying to find it elsewhere.
If you're looking to find somewhere to belong. Versus just totally belonging. Yeah, it's very interesting. It's very interesting that in terms of, I'm just thinking about different times over the last, say, 10 years and moving countries. And I notice when I reflect on it and with this lens of the belonging, the more I feel grounded in myself, the more open and available I am for anyone who comes into my world. When I feel less like I belong, I get kind of judgy. Yeah. So
what's that like?
Oh, what being judgy? Well, it's like pushing people away, I think. It's uncomfortable and it's a pushing people away because of some sense of like lack of trust. It's like, oh, they aren't really my people, or oh, I need to find my right people, or when there's like a wobble going on in my like here I amness, that's what I would see coming out of myself, I'd say. Whereas when I'm just like grounded and rooted in and just like boom, there's this overflow of like open arms or availability and curiosity. It's like, oh, curious. I'm curious about life. I'm curious about people. Yeah.
Oh, Nina, I could go on such a ride with you all day. I'm coming to New Zealand so we can just go on this Eros, this embodied Eros journey together. I'm just wondering, can you share with listeners just one thing that they need to know to start to unlock their own wild, divine, orgasmic existence? One secret.
The first thing that popped in then was knowing that their erotic being is integral to the universe. Yeah. Like it's a non-negotiable. It's needed. Yeah.
Can you say that one more time just so people really hear it?
Your erotic nature is integral to the universe. Maybe even feel that and see if it creates a little ripple of arousal or something in the body.
Yes.
Like,
yes.
It's like, whoa. Yeah.
That
Who would
is
have ever
such a
told us that?
beautiful statement and declaration, and it's whole. It's like a full stop. There's no ... It's a... And it ties so beautifully in with the here I am, what you said before.
Mm. Yeah, I mean, I've got so much I would say about that, but it's our power, right? You know, that's why I say this is wild, divine, orgasmic leadership, because we have been told that our erotic nature is dangerous, it's wrong, but that's because it's so powerful. And once we start to switch that round and flip that round and understand it as integral, and that we can integrate it into our being, we truly tap into this infinite potential of life force and grounded power and self-expression and confidence, like real confidence, right? You would have seen that with your clients as well.
Oh, yeah.
Just, yeah.
Nina, I love you. I love what you do. I really feel like we speak a very similar language, and I didn't realize our paths were probably this close to crossing over the years, but I've actually only known you for a few months now. So this is like divine, to use your word. It's kind of that, it's that divine timing, and I trust in that. And I would love it if you could share with listeners where they can find out more about your work and what your channels of authority are.
Well, I adore people connecting with me, so they can find me they can find me on my website, which is www.ninapowell.com. And they can find me on Facebook. There's a little bit on Instagram, but Facebook has got more stuff.
Yeah,
so come on over there and connect. Yeah. And drop me a message, say hi, let me know if you've listened to this podcast and you want to tell me what it sparked for you. That would be super fun for me to hear that. And I've loved hanging out with you, Lauren. Thank you so much for having me on this delicious conversation.
This is one of the reasons why I have a podcast. It's just so fun.
So
have
good.
These conversations which are conversations that I've had behind closed doors for years and years, but to have people benefit from the potency of these classic, behind the curtain, behind the closed door conversations, and to create those ripples of permission granting and activation. So thank you so much, Nina, and I can't wait to connect with you in real life.